Graphic design? Can you make a living at that?
Three, two, one, fun, 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 fun.
Welcome to Design Futures, a show about what happens after design school. I'm Chris St. Cyr, and my guest on this episode is Susi Cadena. Susi is an art director at Tracy Locke, where she works on advertising and event campaigns, packaging design and branding for Lego, AT&T, Godiva, and Pepsi, her main account. And according to her website, she has a sweet tooth. I think it's probably because of that Pepsi account. And finally, Susi is a 2016 graduate of the College of St. Rose. You have a sweet tooth?
I do have a sweet tooth.
Candy or soda, or what is it?
No, ironically, I do not drink soda. I don't like carbonated drinks, which is something I mentioned on my initial interview. That person who was interviewing me was quick to tell me that I shouldn't voice that.
Don't tell your clients that.
But I can certainly say that Godiva has been a great account to have.
Yeah, do you have lots of free chocolate around the office?
Not lots, but they were very generous at some point. They sent us a giant basket that was there for weeks.
That is a good perk, I would say. Can't go wrong there. How have you been? It's been a while.
I've been well. I know it's been like 5 years. Yeah, I've been okay. I am currently working from home like most people, and it was a little bit of an adjustment at first, but I think at this point I'm used to it, and it does not seem like we're gonna go back at least anytime soon. No.
And so Tracy Locke, you have a few different offices. You're in the Manhattan office, is that right?
Yeah, I am in the Manhattan office.
And there's one in Connecticut?
That's the bigger one. Yeah, it's in Wilton, Connecticut. There's one in Chicago, there's one in Dallas, and there's just some other ones in Brazil and I think Shanghai or something like that.
I saw on your website you mentioned you've lived in Venezuela and Colombia.
Yes, I did.
Gonna go live in Brazil and work at Tracy Locke there?
I could. I do love Brazil. I've visited and I think it's a great country. But yeah, I lived 4 years in Venezuela, 3 years in Colombia, both beautiful countries.
That was before you came to St. Rose as a student?
Yeah, that was before I came to St. Rose. It was kind of one of the reasons I came to the US. Some of the political situation was getting a little rocky.
Oh, yeah. There's always that. Well, stay around here long enough, the political situation gets rocky.
Yeah, I've learned.
Every 4 years, there's always a chance.
Yes, it is.
So I want to talk about Tracy Locke. There have been a few students of mine, a few and more St. Rose alumni that have either worked or still work at Tracy Locke. So it seems to be a good place to work. So you're an art director there. What's your day like? What are your responsibilities as an art director at Tracy Locke?
So every morning I sign on, I go on Teams, or beforehand I would just talk to my supervisor. Every day everything changes. I say, especially with PepsiCo, now that Tracy Locke is trying to do a little more away from home campaigns like events and stuff like that. Sometimes, when I first started working there, it would be mainly point of sale, which would be just like, okay, we want a key visual for Christmas or for the holidays for this specific product. So we would get 3 different people who would each create one look. We would go on a few rounds with our creative director just to see what changes we have to do. At the end, we each present a look, or just one person presents all 3 looks, and the client picks one. And from that point on, for the most part, you get to own that project.
When you say you're presenting to creative director, is that what you said? You're the next level up. So what are you presenting? Are you presenting like mood boards or like type studies, or what is that presentation to that internal person before it goes to like a client review?
At first, yeah, we do create a mood board just so we make sure that the 3 people creating the looks are not overlapping with each other. So we kind of say, oh, how about you go more the graphic approach? You go more on the typographic approach. How about you do more illustration? Then everybody just goes away, does their own thing. Then we bring it back, and that's pretty much what we do. It is a lot of comping with Photoshop. So sometimes I've had ideas that require a photo shoot, but I cannot do a photo shoot just for that initial, selling the idea.
Right.
So I will just have to do a lot of photoshopping, and just, the time that you're presenting, you have to like make sure you tell them this is a little off. Obviously, like, it will definitely look better if you decide to go on this approach. You will definitely have to pay for a photo shoot. So just so they're aware that it includes that extra cost, and that it will definitely look 1,000 times better than the initial proposed design.
So you're taking your designs and say putting them into a mock-up of like what it looks like on a billboard or on a t-shirt or in the environment, in the environmental graphics or something like that, or?
Not on the initial round. On the initial round, we regularly just do like a regular horizontal rectangle and a vertical. If they do decide to go with that look, then you just blow it out into all the different elements. And that's
Yeah.
when you get sometimes help from other people, just because the look is already established. So you can have a few other people just helping build in different sizes, a banner for web or like a billboard, like you mentioned. Sometimes they want t-shirts out of the illustrations that you created.
You mentioned something, phrase, what'd you call it? Out of home or away from home? So what does that mean? What was it? Let's just clarify is it away from home or
It's out of home.
out
I
of
say
home?
away from home, but it's out of home.
What does that mean?
I would say we have our certain like regions that we normally work with. When it's out of home, it's a certain region, a very specific. So for instance, Detroit wants to create this full of Detroit Soul campaign. So that would be kind of out of home, because you're just creating looks that are for a very particular place, city.
Okay. There's some terms that, and I think you used something else. I can't quite remember what you said, but there's agency terms that I'm just not familiar with. And
Yeah.
I was like, what does that mean?
So long when I first started working, sometimes they would just start we have a briefing for the OND campaign. And it was months into it when I was like, what do you mean? It's like, OND is the end of the year because it's October, November, December. It's the same with AMJ. I had no idea what's AMJ, April, May, June. Okay. I just knew I was creating stuff for summer, and for winter, I didn't know what the letters meant.
Oh, yeah, there's too many acronyms and insider jargon, right? So you're at the art director level. Do you have like junior designers that work underneath you, or what's the organization as far as like where you fit in terms of other designers that you're working with?
No, I do not have anybody underneath me. That would be what a senior art director. So once you move up, you have an art director underneath. My team in New York was already very small to begin with. And with the pandemic, most people left. So at this point, we're 3. I have my supervisor. It's basically just the 2 of us that work regularly. He works with other people. He kind of distributes the work with people from Connecticut, sometimes people from Dallas. I just work directly with him.
So there's no designer level?
No, you would be like your starting position. Sometimes there's associate art directors, which are underneath, but for the most part, most people start at art direction.
And so how long have you been in that position?
I've been there for 5 years. It's been a little bit of a rocky time because I am not trying to move up the ladder to a senior art direction position. I quickly realized that's definitely not what I want to do. The more you move up there, the less you design, the more you tell people what to design. And I really like being hands-on. So I realized that Tracy Locke has a special kind of team of designers called the Design Collective. Where anytime they have a project like what we're going to talk about, the packaging design, they know these designers that like illustrating, that like typography, and they will just reach out to them. That's like specialized, they call them, designers, just to create this stuff. So I want to move more in that direction, less presenting, less meetings, less telling people what to do,
Right.
more designing.
And okay, so 5 years at art director Tracy Locke. Can you share a salary range where you are now as opposed to where you might have started?
I started at a range of 40 to 45, and right now I'm at a range of 60 to 70.
And you're trying to move into this design collective. Would that be a lateral move, or is that, do you move up?
I move up,
Yeah.
and that's part of, like, most people don't do that. That's part of the whole confusion here with me. They do kind of make it clear that you're able to choose your own path. So I made it clear that was like kind of where I wanted to go, and I think everybody agreed that that was kind of what I was going to continue to do. So it would be a move up. It would be an increase of salary.
Let's take a look at that work that's going to get you there, because I think there's some really fun, exciting, just diverse too projects on your website, like the different content and the different styles. So this one I want to start with. So PepsiCo Hispanic Growth Summit. What is a growth summit, and what did you do for that?
So this project was kind of like a first time for Tracy Locke. PepsiCo came to us and we're like, we are having the first ever Hispanic Growth Summit where we want to tell people about our Hispanic consumers and just really base it on the Hispanic consumer. Tracy Locke said something like we have never designed events. We don't do that. We do advertising. And then they kind of threw a budget at us. And Tracy Locke was like, you know what, we could probably figure this out. And so we hired an event planner, and so it began. So this was very exciting for me. First, because obviously I'm Hispanic. I really enjoyed working with this audience. Most of the people, even the clients, were Hispanic too. And the people that attended were Hispanic. There were some of my favorite reggaeton artists that attended the conference too. So this was an exciting event for me. I love branding, and this was kind of my one of the first times that I was able to just create the branding for an event, and I just had a great time. Even the stage.
Well, there's some image, but it's pretty heavy and sort of like the graphic element and typography.
It is, and I gotta say, this is one project that I'm very proud of. I really enjoyed and I had a lot of fun working with. But I just felt Tracy Locke, as not a branding agency, did not give me a ton of feedback. They kind of just let me run with it. So I remember at St. Rose, for instance, we would create a logo and then we would go into 1,000 revisions, and until they finally, the right colors, the right shape. I thought this was going to happen, and then I created something and they were like running with it. It was already printed on stuff, and I was like, wait, this was not supposed to be, so fast. I thought I was gonna have time to revise some stuff.
Maybe you're just that good. Isn't that it? No changes necessary, minimal changes. Let's just go with it.
Yeah,
Susie figured it out.
the clients were really happy with it.
It's just a nice exploration of typography. So this other one, I'm a baseball fan, so I had to pick this one. What's the Don Julio and Dodgers limited edition packaging? What was this for?
That was, they wanted to create a packaging that was for the LA Dodgers. That was just obviously a Don Julio box. We didn't really mess with the bottle. It was just a box. And they told us that they have the Dia de los Dodgers, which I know it's a reference to Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. So this was kind of the initial proposed design. I know that Day of the Dead uses a lot of, we call it papel picado, which is the paper that you've seen on restaurants kind of hanging.
Yes, sir.
Exactly that there. So I wanted to use that kind of as inspiration for the packaging. They were a little scared by the skulls, not the Dodgers on Julio. Skulls on their, packaging might send the wrong idea. So I was told to just remove the skulls, but that they liked the inspiration over everything.
But the skulls are on the packaging.
Yeah, but this was the initial proposed design.
Oh, okay, I see.
Then they told me to change it, which I then created icons like a baseball. And you can see in the little iconography that I incorporated like baseball bats, the baseball field, some little baseball balls. So some of them are more baseball heavy and some of them are more Don Julio heavy.
Yeah, I like the details. Like I like this panel here where you can see like a reference to a baseball or a baseball bat or the field, the diamond. It's one of those designs where you kind of, if you just skim it, you won't see that, but you kind of have to look closely to see some of those references. I think that's a missed opportunity. I mean, yeah, skulls are a big part of the Day of the Dead, and it's just I don't know. Every designer loves a good skull too. I mean, come on.
I was very excited, and so were my coworkers, which I was being very playful with the skulls too, because I know that in Mexico, at least, the Day of the Dead, the skulls are always like drinking, dancing,
Yeah.
having fun. So I had skulls playing baseball. That didn't really fly. I'm still happy it got produced, and it was happy to see on social media. People went crazy over it. The few stores that advertise it on their social media, we would see comments of everybody being like, "It's sold out. When can I get more?" Like people who were fans were really interested in this.
You have this as inspiration. So this bobblehead of the skull in the Dodgers uniform that wasn't part of the campaign.
No, that wasn't part of the
Oh,
campaign.
okay. That's
Part of the Dia de los Dodgers.
Let's take a look at this other one. So purely Patricia.
This is a woman who I forgot how she found my portfolio, but she basically just landed on my site and was like, "Hey, you're colorful. I'm colorful. Let's work together." And I was like, "Okay, I guess we're doing this." She does a lot. She's fashionista, brand ambassador. She's in the cover of Humans of New York. She's been on the cover of a bunch of magazines, and she basically just wanted me to redo her logo, her identity. She told me red was one of her colors because everybody knew her from the lipstick. So I created this brand, just created some patterns. You can see on the left, that's what she had when she came to me. And then on the right is where I landed with it, a little more colorful, a little more modern, and redesigned her website too.
I chose this one because one of my design icons that I just love to look at is her blue ballin. And so the mark that you created for her just kind of reminded me of that, the way the letter forms are interlocking or they're sharing a stroke, just the sense of space within the typography.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
think this was one of the first times that I played with interlocking typography. And it kind of became a thing that I kind of use often now. I really enjoy doing that.
let's end with your thesis project. Okay,
Mex-
you're gonna have to say it. You're gonna have to say the mexillology.
You got it.
Mexillology?
Yeah, mexillology.
Okay, what is mexillology?
Mexillology, it comes because vexillology is the study of flags and related emblems. So I just changed the V for the M. Mexillology. I was watching, well, and how they made us watch this little TED talk by Roman Mars, where
Oh,
he
yeah.
was just talking why flags might be something about flags. And I remember I started watching it, and at first I was like, who cares about flags? And then I was like so into it. By the end of it, I was like, oh my gosh, these flags are terrible. Like, I don't even think I've seen Mexico's state flags for all that matters. So I researched and I realized that Mexico does not have state flags. I feel like this is a good opportunity for me to create flags for all of Mexico's 32 federal districts. And so I just did a little research or a lot of research on each state and picked what was kind of the most like what was that state known for. Ended up making icons for it. I made a book, and until this day, this has been one of the projects that people react to the most when they see my portfolio. So I've decided to keep it even though it's old.
Yeah, there's all these wonderful flags you've designed for each of the states that definitely, I would say that some of the United States could use some pointers too. There's a little too many shields and I don't know, a lot of like unnecessary details on most state flags. That's probably true for around the planet as well.
After this project, I feel like I've become kind of a flag snob. There's just so many things. Even yesterday, I was designing a Zoom background for Pride, and I wanted to incorporate all the different flags. The transgender flag, like, and I I'm embarrassed to say I left out the polyamorous flag because it was just too ugly and it was ruining my design. And I'm like, somebody needs to fix this. It's just, I became a flag snob. I can't do it.
Maybe you can help out that flag. So here, these are all, how many states again in Mexico?
32. There's 32 flags. Yeah.
Do you have any favorites in here of the ones you designed?
Oh, I kind of like Oaxaca. I think that cricket's kind of funny.
Where's that one? Number
I don't
20.
Yep. Um, I also like Puebla. I feel like it's one of the most different ones, but there's like a
Uh-huh.
whole history behind the Popocatépetl and the Isla Cihuatl. I feel like that's a legend that it's fun.
I like there's a variety of like there's some that just have like like one symbol, and then others are have more of the repeating pattern. Yeah, so fun. I think your thesis project will last a while.
People just seem to gravitate towards it every time. So
Every
it's
time you go
gonna
to update your website, you want to get rid of it, but then yeah, no.
I just, I like it. I feel like for the most part, I've heard that 6 years, it's kind of like the time for you to start getting rid of projects, and I'm getting there.
Oh, I don't know. I think it'll last longer than that.
I can tell you why one of the reasons of who was the person who made me just leave this for a while. I went to Pasadena, California to an AIGA conference, and I met Michael Beirut, and I showed him my portfolio and he was blown away by it. So I was like, okay, I guess that project can stay. Yeah,
Yeah,
he even took a picture of me with my book, and
that's saying something. Michael Beirut says, he likes your project. You might want to think twice about taking it out of your portfolio.
exactly.
So St. Rose, let's talk about St. Rose, because that's where we met. That's where you're a student of mine, sophomore year. So we're talking about your thesis. Are there other projects or other things that stand out from your time as being a student at St. Rose?
I am really remembering the first time I tried to do something off the computer. Poster for the senior art show. I was like, okay, I'm not touching the computer. I'm doing most of this by hand. So I remember going home, melting this candle. I had this idea of like time passing. So the candle was melting. And I wanted to put a frame with matches that were already kind of burnt matches. So you could tell that, they were used. And so I went and I bought a bunch of matches, and I'm scared of lighting matches. So I just brought like a big cup of water. The only thing that I had was a red Solo cup. So I put the water in the red Solo cup. I'm lighting matches. And Paul comes out and he's like, hey, everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, everything's good. I keep doing my thing. Later on, I'm walking around with the frame that I built, and all the teachers are like, oh, that's what you were doing. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we were all watching you through the security cameras, thinking you were just like a pyromaniac. Like, this is so embarrassing. Like, nobody was saying anything, and I was just lighting tons of matches.
Of course, they weren't saying anything. You're in the art building, just making something. We're gonna let you do it. Just don't burn the place down, but sure.
With my red Solo cup right next to me.
So you were a design student at St. Rose, and were you there all 4 years? Did you transfer? Or you started as a freshman?
I started as a freshman,
Okay.
but I started as a business administration major.
You did?
I did, yeah. I don't know what I was thinking because I've always liked drawing, but I don't know. I just, I didn't really know about St. Rose's art department, and I was scared about graduating and not having a job. And then my parents kind of were another weight in there. So I decided to just go for business administration. I was miserable the first semester, and I was taking an Arabic class, which the teacher never showed up for like 3 classes. So I dropped out, and I was like, what else can I take? Happens that drawing one fit in my schedule, and I was like, wow, I love drawing. So I I need to enroll, but then they told me that I had to pass the portfolio review, and I didn't have anything at that point. I had some drawings on napkins that I had done on my way to Mexico, and I remember showing Marianne my drawings, and she was like, "Oof, these aren't good enough, but you're already kind of behind." I think I was 2 weeks far, like behind at that point. So I got accepted just to see, let's see if you catch up. And this drawing class was with Professor Ben Schwab, and it was the most fascinating class I've ever taken. It opened my eyes to so many things. I was like, oh my God, I can draw. It was, I don't know, it was mind blowing to me. So after that semester, I switched, and at first I had business administration as my minor, then I just dropped it.
You obviously are successful. Can you talk about maybe the challenges that family had with, whether you could have a job or a career in this, and how did you address that? What kind of conversations, or what did you say, or how did that all happen?
Of course, I was kind of already in a tough place because my parents did not want me to stay in the city, like in the States. I first came here when we were living in Venezuela. My dad had a job in Venezuela, and the situation was getting a little rocky there. So they decided to send me to study abroad for 1 year while they were able to transfer back to Mexico. Then they were able to transfer back to Mexico, and I was like, I kind of want to study college here. And they didn't want me to do that. They obviously, especially I feel like Hispanic families are very close. Kids normally don't move out until they're married. My family was like super close, and they were struggling with the idea that I wanted to study all 4 years here. And so it was kind of like compromise. Okay, so I am going to study here. I first had to negotiate with financing. Like I was like, this is how much colleges cost in Mexico, and this is how much my family is going to be able to afford.
Right.
I was able to get a few scholarships, and then just like navigating that with my parents, I feel like that was the way that I said. I was like, okay, business administration was never really my goal, but I knew that St. Rose kind of advertised that people were doing business administration and music in order to create some sort of like thing. So I was like, maybe I can do business administration and art and have some sort of marketing or something. But I just enrolled as business administration, said like I'll figure it out later on. Like once we're all specializing in a thing, I'll just specialize in art. And that then after that drawing class, I kind of didn't really talk to them about it.
I've heard that story before too.
Made my decisions. I just let them. I was telling them, oh, I added it as my minor, and they were like, okay, great. And then at some point I flipped them, and like I don't think I told them until I had my internship that they kind of were already seeing there's a field, there's a need for graphic designers. And then once I graduated, I was like surprised there's no business administration in my degree.
I love it. It's worked out, right?
It did, yeah.
There's a lot going on at that time of life, and I think it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to make that decision, to really go for what you're really interested in. So I applaud you for that. It's wonderful to hear. I didn't even know that. I had no idea. One of your classmates said, I think you should talk to Susie. I think she's got an interesting story with regards to that, because I remember you as just being, oh wow, this is another talented design student. I guess I just figured that you knew what graphic design was for a long time, and that you had taken art classes, and this is like you knew what you wanted to do. But I guess it was happening as I was meeting you at St. Rose. It was all in motion.
Honestly, I think I'm very lucky that I landed at St. Rose when I was making this discovery, because I could have ended up in a college where graphic design was not good. And I just happened to just land in this college where I decided to make this change, and the graphic design program is amazing. So it worked out for me. But I'm always going to be grateful with Professor Schwab, who was always like, after I told him like I don't think my parents are going to let me do this, he was like, let me talk to them. I went through something similar, and he was just so supportive. I feel like that was kind of what got me into, okay, I got this.
I've said it before. I haven't had the opportunity too many times, but I would talk to any parent that is concerned about their child, as they should be. They're a parent, right? I just think this, being a designer is a wonderful career, and I could talk to anybody probably at length and too long, probably bore them to death about all the great things that you could do with a graphic design degree. I wanted to also ask you, because you have another interesting challenge that you're going through. Can you talk about the work visa and what that has been for you and your experience, and what have you done, what do you still need to do, and just, I guess, explain what it all is.
So, as an international student, once you graduate from a United States college, they give you 1 year to do your OPT, which I forgot what it means, but I think it's optional practice training, where you just have 1 year to work for a company. It's basically 1 year for you to charm a company so that they can sponsor you. And at first, when I graduated, I guess I didn't really know. I was like, so do I just go in blindly and not tell them that I'm looking for the sponsorship? And then once they fall in love with me, I'm like, surprise, I need sponsorship. Or do I just tell them from the start? I would say if anybody's going through this, tell them from a start, because a lot of companies do not sponsor. For instance, I did my internship with Macmillan. And once I graduated, of course, all the places calling me back were book publishing companies. I interviewed with Penguin Random House. I interviewed with W.W. Norton, and none of the book publishing companies sponsor, just because I believe editorial is already not doing great financially. So they just don't want to put that burden of legal stuff on top of it. I think some of them do sponsor, but higher ups, not really somebody who's just starting. So that became kind of a challenge for me. Like, the only experience I have is not going to get me a job. Advertising does happen to have the money for that. I was very clear with Tracy Locke from the start that I needed the sponsorship, and they told me it is an option. You do have to prove yourself. After like 6 or 7 months, we can start this discussion just to see how everybody feels about it. It is a long process, and it is really stressful because it's at some point it's not even in the company's hands anymore. It's on the government. The company is like, okay, yeah, we want her. This is all the documentation. They put you in this pool of a bunch of people. It's called the lottery. And people who have PhDs and masters, they have a better chance of getting picked in the lottery. So I talked to a lawyer, and he's like, the odds are against you. Like, it's probably not going to happen. Like, just don't be disappointed. We can talk about other options. And I kind of just went in it thinking that I was not going to get picked. It took so long, so long, to the point where my work permit came to an end. I had to get fired. Well, I got let go from Tracy Locke because it was not legal for them to have me employed. And I was in limbo. I was in limbo for like a month. So my
Right.
life was just put on pause. Yeah, it was long. It was obviously a great feeling once I got the news that I was actually picked in the lottery system. This is actually good for 3 years. And then after those 3 years, you have to reapply. It's kind of an extension. So if they do approve the extension, you get another 3 years. And after those 3 years, that's it. It was fun meeting you. You only get 6 years in total. So the next step is a green card. So we've been in the talks now, because the green card takes even longer than the work visa. So I would need to start the process sooner rather than later. We will see.
And you're working on that part of the process now.
Yeah, we haven't even applied yet. I'm on my
Oh,
4th year, like, of
okay.
the work.
There's a lot of paperwork
A lot of legal fees.
and a lot. Yeah. So there's some money associated with it. Significant, right? It's an investment by the company, right?
It is I believe the green card costs approximately $20,000. So, like, with everything, the lawyers and the paperwork and
Right. That's good to know. It's definitely, there's definitely some international students, I'm sure, that wonder about that. Well, I hope it all works out for you.
I hope so too.
So let's switch gears. So what are you doing outside of work that's keeping you happy?
I have been like, I wake up, I do a stretch class, And then I also have a calisthenics class or workout class
Yeah.
that at night, which that's just helping. Like that definitely helps both of those to just like kind of like release some stress. I do love New York. I feel like I love hanging out with friends. I love just going to restaurants, meeting people, and New York just has so much to offer. I'm super excited about the botanical gardens with the Yayoi Kusama exhibition. Like I'm gonna be going to that. If there's any special exhibition in museums, I'm like always the first one to go to. So I feel like I do take advantage of a lot of things that happen.
All right, so let's wrap up with the pop quiz. I'm sure you'll do fine on this quiz. Okay, so this first one, it sounds specific to you, but I'm asking everybody. Work beverage. What do you drink at work? Even though you work on all these beverage products, what do you drink at work?
I drink coffee.
After work beverage?
Depends. If it's Friday, any spicy mezcal cocktail.
All right. Favorite Pepsi product?
That's that's hard. I would say I like Lay's, which are part of PepsiCo.
Oh, okay. Sketchbook, blank or gridded?
Blank.
Blank. Do you listen to music while you're working?
I do.
What genre of music do you listen to?
I switch. Reggaeton normally gets me going, or sometimes bachata.
What is that? What is?
Bachata, it's very dancey, so you'll see me like even in the office, people used to like see me just like dancing on the spot.
Dancing in your seat?
Yeah.
All right. Laptop, desktop, or tablet?
More recently, tablet. I got an iPad and I'm trying to get used to it. But for final products, always laptop.
How do you back up your files at work?
I have like 30,000 external hard drives.
30,000 external hard drives.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. Type or image? Type.
Yeah.
You said that like you weren't too sure.
I wasn't too sure, but I do love type.
What are your final words of wisdom? Final thoughts?
I don't know. I would just say really think about what you're passionate about and, what kind of inspires you is normally the things that you're passionate about. So I'm passionate about plants. I'm passionate about my culture. And I think you will do a great job and listen to this podcast so you know how much there is, like how many things you could do with design.
Well, thanks so much. It was great talking to you. Great catching up.
Great catching up with you too, Chris.
All right.
Thanks so
Thanks. Bye. What did we learn from Susie? Number one, college is a big investment. Study something you're interested in, even if you have to change your major. As the saying goes, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to get permission. Number two, take a closer look at your state flag. You might see something interesting. It might need a redesign. Thanks to Susi Cadena of Tracy, Locke. If you have any questions or comments for me or any of the guests, please leave them in the comments and subscribe so you can catch the next episode of Design Futures. Until next time, go learn something. Your future depends on it. Thanks for listening. See ya.